Hi, there are two chords progressions, 15 jazz chords, and one bass note to play. A chord progression is a sequence of chords that is played repeatedly over a section of a song. There are songs that has only one chord progression. Before we proceed to learning chord progressions and the chords, let's review some important things first. First is the left hand finger's annotation. Index finger is notated 1, middle finger 2, ring finger 3, and the pinky 4. For the guitar, the spaces, these are called frets. This is the first fret, second fret, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 7, 8, and so on. And the strings are numbered. The first string is numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So low E is number 6, whereas high E is numbered 1. Now let's discuss the first chord progression. Let's call it CP1, chord progression number 1. The chords for this progression is as follows. You begin with F major 7th, followed by C minor 7th, and then F dominant 9th, and then B flat major 7th, and B flat minor 7th. So there are 5 chords in this progression, or there are 5 chords in CP1. Now let's discuss each chord. The first chord in this progression is F major 7th, and looking at the diagram, you see dots with numbers. The numbers on the dots refer to your left hand fingers. Again, 1 is for index finger, 2 is for middle finger, 3 is for ring finger, and 4 is for your pinky. And you see lines on that diagram. Those lines are either the strings or the fret wires. And you see X. That means the string next to it is not to be played. So for F major 7th, you see a dot notated number 1, and that's on the 8th fret. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is 8th fret. Reading that diagram, there's a dot notated number 1 at 8th fret, and that dot is on the 5th string, and that's for your index finger. So you position the tip of your index finger right here. The next dot is number 2, and that is on the 3rd string at 9th fret, so here. The dot that is numbered 3, that's for your ring finger, is on the 4th string at 10th fret, and the dot notated number 4, and that's for your pinky, is on the 2nd string at 10th fret, same fret as your ring finger. So this is your fingering for F major 7th. And looking at the diagram, the number 6 is marked with an X, so you're not playing this string, as well as the number 1 is marked with an X, so you're not playing the number 6 and number 1 strings. So you're only playing 4 strings, the inner 4 strings. And this is the sound of F major 7th. For comfort, you can actually lay your index finger across all the other strings, like this. It is then followed by C minor 7th, and looking at the diagram, you see that you have the dot notated 1, this time on the number 6 string, but same fret. So all you have to do is, since you already have your index finger at this fret, just position the tip of this finger on the 6th string, like this. And then the dot notated number 2, and that's for your middle finger, is on the 4th string, same fret. And then the dot notated number 3, that's your ring finger, on the 3rd string, same fret. And dot notated number 4, and that's your pinky, on the 2nd string, same fret. Looking at the diagram, you see all the dots are at the same fret, which is 8th fret. But for this chord, the number 5 is marked with an X, so you are not playing this, as well as the number 1 string. So these 2 strings, number 5 and number 1, are not to be played. So for this chord, you are playing the number 6, number 4, 3, and number 2 strings. And the sound of C minor 7 is this one. You may notice that for this chord, you have all your fingertips at the same fret. And also, that's easy to visualize from the chord diagram. All the dots are at the same fret. Now you may ask, why not just use one finger since all the strings are to be played at the same fret? So, like this. But the reason why I'm suggesting to use 4 fingers for this chord is because it is easier to transition with these fingerings to F dominant ninth. Now look at the diagram of F dominant ninth. As you can see, the dot notated number 1 is on this time on the 4th string at 7th fret. And the dot notated number 2 is on the 5th string at 8th fret. And the dot notated number 3 is still on the same spot as the previous chord, which is on the 3rd string. And the dot notated number 4 is also on the same spot as the previous chord, which is on the 2nd string at 8th fret. So this is F dominant 9. And for this chord, the number 6 and the number 1 strings are marked with an X, so these 2 strings are not to be played. So you're only playing the inner 4 strings. And this is the sound. Now imagine if you are playing C minor 7, which is the previous chord, with just one finger. Now transitioning to the next chord, which is F dominant 9, would be harder as there's a lot of movements. Compared to when you play C minor 7 with 4 fingers, all you have to do to transition to F dominant 9 is to move the index back to 7th fret, but goes on the 4th string, and then the middle finger goes 1 string up to 5th string here, and the other 2 fingers remain on their respective positions. So look, it's easier to move or transition from G minor 7 with 4 fingers to F dominant 9. Compared to and C minor 7 and F dominant 9th are in a split measure, meaning these 2 chords are played within a measure. C minor 7 right at count 1 and F dominant 9 between counts 2 and 3. More on this when I discuss the rhythmic patterns. Then after F dominant 9th, we have B flat major 7th. Now looking at the chord diagram for B flat major 7th, you see 2 dots with the same number, notated 1, and both are at 6th fret, and this is 6th fret. So you have a dot on the 6th string, numbered 1, and another dot on the 2nd string, numbered 1 also. So that means you will have to play these 2 strings, the number 6 and the number 2, with the same finger, which is index. So to do that, all you have to do is form your index as a bar. So you have your index finger laid across all 6 strings here. And then the next dot, notated number 2, is on the 4th string at 7th fret, so here. And then the dot notated number 3, which is for your ring finger, is on the 3rd string at 7th fret, so here. And again, for this chord, you have 2 strings that are marked with an X. The number 5 and the number 1 are marked with an X. So the number 5 and number 1 strings are not to be played. So you only pick the 4 strings. So the number 6, number 4, number 3, and number 2. So this is the sound of B flat major 7th. And this chord is played for 1 measure. It is then followed by B flat minor 7th. And again, looking at the diagram, you see that all the dots are the same fret, which is the 6th fret. So right here. So all you have to do is take out these 2 fingers. But for this chord, the number 5 and the number 1 are not to be played. So you only pick the number 6, number 4, number 3, and number 2 strings. So transitioning from B flat major 7, which is this one, to B flat minor 7 is easy, as you only have to take out these 2 fingers. So this is B flat major 7th, and then to B flat minor 7th. And B flat minor 7th is played for one measure. Now let's discuss the next chord progression. Let's call it CP2, chord progression number 2. There are 4 chords in this progression, and the sequence is G minor 7th, C dominant 9th, A minor 7th, and D dominant 9th. For G minor 7th, looking at the chord diagram, you see that you have that notated 1 on the 6th string at 3rd fret. 1st, 2nd, 3rd. This is the 3rd fret, the tip of your index finger right here. And then dot number 2 is on the 4th string, same fret, so here. And then dot number 3 on the 3rd string, same fret, is here. And dot number 4, same fret on the 2nd string, here. And again, looking at the diagram, you see that the number 5 and the number 1 are dead strings. So these 2 strings are not to be played. So you only play the number 6, number 4, number 3, number 2 strings. And the sound of G minor 7th is this one. You may notice that the shape of G minor 7 is the same as C minor 7th. This is C minor 7th, and this is G minor 7th. So once you have memorized the shape, or you get familiar to the shape of C minor 7th, you should be able to remember G minor 7th, as both have the same shape. The only difference is their position on the fretboard. C minor 7th, you have all 4 fingers at 8th fret. For G minor 7, they are at 3rd fret. And this chord is played for one measure. Then this is followed by C dominant 9th. On the diagram, you see dot number 1, that's your index finger, this time on the 4th string at 2nd fret. So transitioning from G minor 7 is this way. Your index finger goes down to 2nd fret on the 4th string here, and then your middle finger goes 1 string up to 5th string, and the other 2 fingers, the number 3 and number 4, are on the same positions. So this is C dominant 9th. And again, looking at the diagram, number 6 and number 1 are marked with an X, so they are not to be played. So you only play the inner 4 strings. As you may notice, the transitioning from G minor 7 to C dominant 9th is exactly the same as the transition from C minor 7th to F dominant 9th. So remember this. The only difference is their position on the fretboard. So this is G minor 7th transitioning to C dominant 9th. And then this is followed by A minor 7th. Now looking at the diagram, you would see that the dot number 1 is still on the 6th string, but this time at 5th fret. And the dot number 2 is still on the 4th string, but at 5th fret. And then dot number 3 still on the 3rd string, but at 5th fret. And dot number 4 still on the 2nd string at 5th fret. So you have all 4 fingers at 5th fret. Again, from the diagram, you'll see that the number 5 and the number 1 are marked with X. So these 2 strings, 5 and 1, are not to be played. So you only play the number 6, number 4, number 3, number 2. And this is the sound of A minor 7th. Again, you would notice that the shape is just like G minor 7 and C minor 7th. So these 3 chords have the same shape. They only differ in their position on the fretboard. C minor 7th is the one at 8th fret. G minor 7th is the one at 3rd fret. And A minor 7 is the one at 5th fret. And then A minor 7th is followed by D dominant 9th. And again, looking at the diagram, you'd see that this time your index finger goes to 4th fret on the 4th string, so here. And then you see on the diagram, the dot number 2 is on the 5th string, and that's your middle finger. So all you have to do is bring your middle finger 1 string up, so here. And your fingers, number 3 and number 4, or dots number 3 and number 4, still in the same positions, so they remain. So the transitioning from A minor 7th to D dominant 9th is just moving your index and middle finger. Index finger goes here, middle finger goes here. And this is D dominant 9th. And again, the transitioning is very much the same as from C minor 7th to F dominant 9th, and also the same as transitioning from G minor 7 to C dominant 9th. So you have 3 pairs of chords that has the same transition, and this is A minor 7 and D dominant 9. And D dominant 9 is played for 1 measure. Also A minor 7th is also played for 1 measure. But at the end of the song, 6 more chords are introduced and a bass note. Let's discuss first the bass note. The symbol for that is /C#. And on this diagram, you'll only see 1 dot. And the dot is notated number 2, and that means it's your middle finger. And it is on the 5th string at 4th fret, here. And you'll see the other strings are marked with X. So that means you only play the 5th string at 4th fret. This sound. So in this instance, you are not playing a chord, but a note. And in particular, it's a bass note because it's a low-pitched tone. And the note is on a bass string. By the way, the 6th, 5th, and the 4th strings are bass strings. And the 3rd, 2nd, and the 1st are treble strings. So /C# is a bass note, and it's played on the 5th string at 4th fret. And so this is /C#. And this bass note is in a split measure with C dominant 9, which is this chord. This is the chord to be played prior to /C#. /C# is in a split measure with C dominant 9th. C dominant 9th is right at count 1, and the bass note /C# is right at count 3. And it goes like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and we'll have more of this when we move to the rhythmic patterns section of this tutorial. And the sequence of 6 more chords is this: D minor, G7 suspended, G7th, G minor, C dominant 7th, and F major. Now here's the diagram for D minor, and it is played for 1 measure. Looking at the diagram, you'd see that the number 6 and number 1 strings are marked with X, so these 2 strings are not to be played. And the dot with number 1 is on the 5th string at 5th fret, and that's for your index finger, so right here. The next dot with number 2 is on the 2nd string at 6th fret, so here. And the next dot with number 3 is on the 4th string at 7th fret, so here. And then the dot numbered 4 is on the 3rd string at 7th fret also, so here. So this is the shape. Now this is the sound of D minor. For comfort, or if you're more comfortable, you can lay your index finger across the other strings, just like this. So 2 ways, either this or this. And this is played for 1 measure. D minor is then followed by G7 suspended. And looking at the diagram, you see 3 dots, all numbered 1 at 3rd fret. So you have 1 on the 6th string, 1 on the 4th string, and 1 on the 2nd string. Now to do that, just lay your index finger across those strings, or across all 6 strings at 3rd fret. And then one more dot, which is number 3, and that's your ring finger on the 3rd string at 5th fret, so here. And for this chord, the number 5 and the number 6 are dead strings, so you only play the number 6, number 4, number 3, and number 2. And this is the sound. G7 suspended. It is then followed by G7th chord, and this is the diagram for G7. You'd notice that comparing the chord diagrams for G7 suspended and G7, they're pretty much the same as to where your index finger is. The only difference is that the other dot is number 2, and that's for the middle finger, and it's on the same string but at lower fret, which is 4th fret. So this is G7, and just like G7 suspended, the number 5 and the number 1 strings are not to be played, so you only play the number 6, number 4, number 3, and number 2. So this is the sound of G7. So transitioning between these two chords, all you have to do is just take out your ring finger and then position your middle finger for G7. So this is G7 suspended, and then this is G7. And these two chords, G7 suspended and G7, are in a split measure. G7 suspended right at count 1, and G7 right at count 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Then this is followed by G minor. And again, looking at the diagram, you'd see that 3 fingers are at the same fret and they're all notated 1. So that's for your index finger at 3rd fret here. And then the other dot notated number 3, and that's your ring finger on the 4th string at 5th fret here. So this is G minor. And for this chord, the number 5 and the number 1 strings are not to be played. So you only play the number 6, number 4, number 3, number 2. So this is the sound. And this chord is to be played for 1 measure. You'd notice that from G7 suspended, which is this shape, to G7, you just move out your 3rd finger and middle finger positions to the same string at 4th fret. And then to G minor, you keep your index finger, but this time your ring finger goes back to position, but this time on the 4th string at 5th fret. So you have this sequence starting from G7 suspended to G7 to G minor. This is then followed by C dominant 7th, and looking at the diagram, you'd see that you still have 2 dots with the same number, both numbered 1, and that's still your index finger, and at the same fret, which is 3rd fret, just like where the other 3 chords are. The G minor, G7 suspended, and G7. On those chords, you have your index finger at 3rd fret, so same is or C dominant 7th. So all you have to do is just skip your index finger flat across all 6 strings. And then the other dot numbered 3 is on the 4th string at 5th fret here. You have another finger, which is your pinky, and that's on the diagram, the dot numbered 4 on the 2nd string at 5th fret. So for C dominant 7th, you have this shape, and the number 6 and the number 1 are marked with X, so they are not to be played. So this time you're playing the number 5, number 4, number 3, number 2 strings, the inner 4 strings. And this is the sound. And this chord is to be played for 2 measures. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and before you move to the last chord, which is F. And this is the diagram for F. And looking at the diagram, you will see that you have 3 dots with the same number, 1, and all of them are at first fret. So all you have to do is just lay your index finger across all 6 strings, just like this. The next dot is number 2, that's for your middle finger on the 3rd string at 2nd fret, so here. And then the next dot is number 3, that's for your ring finger, and it's on the 5th string at 3rd fret, so here. And then lastly, the dot numbered 4, that's for your pinky, is on the 4th string at 3rd fret, so here. So this is the shape of F major. You would notice that there are no strings that is marked with an X, so you can play all, or you play all 6 strings. And this is the sound of F, but it is stretched over for 3 measures. So the playing time of this last chord is for 3 measures. And it's actually, if you listen to the song, it's actually played broken, meaning you are not playing it as a chord or strumming it like this. It's not played like that, but it's played broken or arpeggiated, so you can do it something like this. Now that we have learned the chord progressions for this song, let's study the structure of the songs so that we would know which part of the song is applied with chord progression number 1 and which part of the song is applied with chord progression number 2. The song begins with the intro using CP1. It is then followed by verse number 1, again using CP1, then verse number 2 using CP1. After that is the chorus using CP2, then it is followed by interlude number 1 using CP1, then it is followed by verse number 3 using CP1, and then verse number 4 using CP1, and then the chorus is to be repeated, and of course the chorus is played using CP2. Then we have interlude number 2 using CP1, and then this is followed by verse number 5 using CP1, but you'd notice that the tempo for this verse is at a slower tempo. Then the tempo is carried on to the next verse, verse number 6 using CP1. Then chorus is to be repeated, and of course the progression for chorus is CP number 2. And then after that, the chorus is repeated again, but with aggressive rhythm or different rhythmic pattern. And at this time, for the last line of the chorus, a bass note slash C sharp has been introduced and 3 more chords, and these are D minor, G7th suspended, and G7th. And finally, the song ends by repeating the very last line, but with 3 different chords, and these are G minor, C7th, and F major chord. The right hand finger's string assignment is this. The thumb picks either the 6th or the 5th string, depending on the chord in play. The index finger picks the 4th string, middle finger picks the 3rd string, and the ring finger picks the 2nd string. So it's called pinching because, as you can see, when these 4 fingers move together, that's what you see. They pinch these strings. And pinching for this song can be classified into 2. Pinching with the thumb on the 5th string and pinching with the thumb on the 6th string. Now let's discuss first the pinching with the thumb on the 5th string. And this would be applied on the following chords. For F major 7th, so you have your thumb on the 5th string, to F dominant 9th, to C dominant 9th, D dominant 9th, D minor, and C dominant 7th. Now, the next is pinching with the thumb on the 6th string. This would be applied on the following chords: C minor 7th, to B flat major 7th, B flat minor 7th, G minor 7th, A minor 7th, G7 suspended, G7th, G minor, and F major chord. So there, as you can see, it's just the thumb that moves up and down, either the 6th or the 5th string. But the index finger is always on the 4th string, middle finger on the 3rd, and ring finger on the 2nd string. The song is written in 4/4 time signature, so counting is up to 4. And the tempo is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And 8-note counting of that is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. But for the discussion of the rhythmic patterns that I will suggest to you, and there are 6, we will be using a slower tempo. And the first one is what I call 2 pinches within a measure. So here's the pattern. As you can see, there are 2 letter P's. The letter P stands for pinch. There's P at count 1, and the next P is between counts 2 and 3. So here you have to do 8-note counting. I would suggest that you practice 8-note counting first. Do it at a slow tempo and repeat counting for several measures. And when you get comfortable at 8-note counting for several times, then try to follow the pattern as you count. It's very important that you count steady and even, so you'd be able to nail down the pattern. And this is the pattern for most part of the song. I suggest this pattern for the intro, verses 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the chorus part. And to demo the pattern, using chord progression number 1. So here we have F major 7th, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then after this, it's followed by C minor 7 and F dominant 9th. But C minor 7th and F dominant 9th are in a split measure. C minor 7 is right at count 1, and F dominant 9th is between counts 2 and 3. So it goes like this. This is C minor 7th, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then after this is B flat major 7th for 1 measure, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then B flat minor 7 for 1 measure, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 As a whole, it goes like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 So that's how it goes. And that's the pattern number 1. For the intro, verses 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the chorus part. The second pattern that I am suggesting is what I call whole note pinch, and this is the pattern. As you can see, there's just one letter P, and it's right at the beginning of the measure, right at count 1. And again, P stands for pinch. And this pattern that I'm suggesting is actually applied the last time B flat minor 7 is played for the intro, for the interlude 1 and 2. To demo, so here it goes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 So you just pinch once, right at count 1, and make it last for the entire measure. So it rings for 1 measure, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 And it is also applied the last time C dominant 9th is played for the chorus. And this is C dominant 9th, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 And it is also applied on verses 5 and 6 for F major 7th, B flat major 7th, and B flat minor 7th. So to demo that, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then you have this 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 And this pattern is also applied on the ending part of the song for the chords D minor, G minor, and C7. And here's the demo. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The third pattern that I'm suggesting is what I call 8-note pinching. And there are 8 pinches for the whole measure, and this is the pattern. As you can see, there are 8 letter P's. It is actually applied the second time B flat minor 7th is played for verses number 2 and 4. So it goes like this, and this is B flat minor 7th, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that's how it is. That's 8-note rhythm. And by the way, if you are not familiar to whole note rhythm and half note rhythm, or 8-note rhythm, or even quarter note rhythm, in short, the basic rhythmic patterns, I suggest that you click this link for that lesson. Now the fourth rhythmic pattern that I'm suggesting is actually a combination of quarter note and dotted half note. Quarter note at count 1 and dotted half note right at count 2. And here's the pattern. As you can see, there are 2 pinches. One right at count 1 and the other one, or the next one, is right at count 2. The first pinch, which is right at count 1, that's actually a quarter note. And the second pinch, which happens at count number 2, lasting for the rest of the measure, is actually a dotted half note. This pattern is applied the last time G minor 7th is played for the chorus. To demo that, here's G minor 7th, and the pattern goes like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That's it. The fifth pattern that I'm suggesting is half note pinching. And here's the pattern. As you can see, there are 2 pinches for the whole measure. There's pinch right at count 1 and there's another one right at count 3. This is actually used for chords C minor 7 and F dominant 9th, which are actually in a split measure of verse number 5 and verse number 6, and for split measure between G7 suspended and G7. Here's the demo of that pattern. So between C minor 7th and F dominant 9th, which are in a split measure, it goes like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and the other time is between G7 suspended and G7. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. But there's a variation of this. Instead of just 1 pinch for C minor 7, there will be 3. And it's this part of the song.
And I know it sounds so stupid to be waiting this long, but I'm still in love.
There, I did 3 pinches for C minor 7. And then on the third count, that's for F dominant 9th with just a single pinch. So again. And the sixth pattern, or the last pattern that I'm suggesting, is for the last time the chorus is repeated. And this is the pattern. As you can see, there is letter B at count 1, and then the symbol of upstroke between counts 1 and 2. Letter P, which stands for pinch, between counts 2 and 3. And then there's an upstroke between counts 3 and 4. And then there's letter R right at count 4. Since I'm suggesting this pattern for the chorus part, now let me use the chords of the chorus, which is actually the chord progression 2, or CP2. And the chords are G minor 7, and you have C dominant 9th, and then A minor 7th, and then D dominant 9th. Let me start with G minor 7. You see the pattern. B is for bass note. The letter V, which is actually the symbol for upstroke, is accomplished by these 3 fingers doing an up pick. And P is pinching. It's simultaneous action of the thumb and the 3 fingers. And then upstroke again. And then R can be accomplished by just touching the strings so that the string stops from ringing. So R stands for rest or silence. This means stopping or muting the ringing of strings by touching the strings. So the pattern goes like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So that's how the pattern goes. All you have to do is first practice at a slow tempo, and when you get comfortable, you should be able to nail down the pattern and be able to play it at the recorded tempo. Now for the bass note, C sharp, which is actually represented by the symbol /C sharp. There's a slash before the note name to distinguish it from C sharp major chord. And that bass note, C sharp, is right on the 5th string at 4th fret. When you press the 5th string at 4th fret, this is C sharp. This note is called C sharp. And to write it down, we use forward slash followed by the name of the note. So forward slash C sharp. It is written in such a way to distinguish it from C sharp major chord, which is this one. But since we're only playing a bass note, so the symbol for that is /C sharp. And that means you only have to play this note, this string. This bass note /C sharp is in a split measure with C dominant ninth. C dominant ninth right at count 1. And then the bass note is at count 3. To demonstrate that, this is C dominant ninth, 1 and 2 and 3. And then when you get to count number 3, all you have to do is just stretch your middle finger to the next fret to play that note. So again, this is the chord C dominant ninth, right at count 1, 1 and 2 and 3. There. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then it goes to D minor, as D minor is the next chord. Now for the last chord, which is F major chord, the playing of it is actually arpeggiated. The chord is played broken. Instead of the usual way of strumming the last chord with a downstroke, but it's arpeggiated, meaning you'll have to play the strings or the notes individually and one after the other. That means picking the strings one after the other, starting from the 6th string down to 1st string. And here's the demonstration of that. And then picking the strings up, back to the 6th string, from 1st string to 6th string.
Here we go. So I out on a train, be in the afternoon. I don't know when I'm coming back, but I hope that it's soon. See, I never thought that I'd ever leave your side, your side.
It's only physically, but know that you will be on my mind 24 hours at a time.
'Cause in my eyes, you are mine.
You are mine, yeah. No matter where you go, I won't be very far. 'Cause in my head I'll be right there where you are. 'Cause love is no distance, baby. Love is no distance, baby. No, not when it comes to you and me. So she wrote me a letter, said the weather wasn't better, but she said that she was doing fine.
She said that she was doing
I wanna
fine.
see her face to face, is what she wrote to me that day, and I knew that it was all a sign.
So I wrote back with a song, promise it won't be too long. Wanna make up for all I lost time. 'Cause in my eyes, you were mine, you were mine.
No matter where you go, I won't be very far, 'cause in my head I'll be right there where you are. 'Cause love is no distance, baby. Love is no distance, baby. No, not when it comes to you and me.
So I'm going through these boxes, my life's gone off track. 'Cause it's been 3 years and she hasn't written back. But in my eyes, she's still mine.
And I know it sounds so stupid to be waiting this long, but I'm still in love, and I know I'm not wrong. 'Cause in my eyes, she was mine. No matter where you go, I won't be very far, 'cause in my head I'll be right there where you are. 'Cause love is no distance, baby. Love is no distance, baby. No, not when it comes to you. And no matter where you go, I won't be very far, 'cause in my head I'll be right there where you are. 'Cause love is no distance, baby. Love is no distance, baby. No, not when it comes to you and me. Not when it comes to you and me.
All right.
It's good.